The only thing we're gonna do is slow it down a little bit. That's it.
We're on. We're back, folks. Freedom Forum on this, the 19th day of the 11th month, year of our Lord Jesus Christ, 2014. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together tonight and ask that you would assist us to move amongst your people and give us the strength, the wisdom, and the courage to do your will in all things. In Jesus the Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I'm going to have later tonight some more on the people and what needs to happen. Let's see. Tomorrow night, we will not be at Elise's for our regular meeting. We'll be at Southside Bakery, which is on Congress Extension, just past Ambassador Caffrey. You go past Albertsons, past the hospital, at the same corner, at the Ambassador Caffrey corner.
Right,
just keep going.
Skating rink.
Yeah, it's right across from the skating rink, Southside Bakery, at the next traffic light after Ambassador Caffrey. Get there at 5:30 if you want to eat.
They close at 6.
Yep, but we'll be there as long as it takes to get what we got to get done. Let's see.
Friday.
Then, no, we'll talk about that tomorrow night. We don't have anything else pending except...
Patriots meeting's not till December 11th.
Yeah.
We're still working on that. Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's about the only thing coming up on our end. And there's a lot going on nationally and internationally. We're going to get into that. But first, I got a comment about the... what happened to that cartoon? I just had it. The global warming stuff. Oh, there it is. It got covered up. All right.
Yeah.
This was in the advertising. Every once in a while, they have what you would call genius level items in the advertiser. The political section, the cartoon, the opinion section, the cartoon, actual climate change pronouncements by scientists, a brief recap. And they got a little cartoon for each of them with the date. And I remember many of these well, so the guy is correct. 1970, we'll be in an ice age by 2000. 1976, global cooling will cause a world war by 2000. 1989, global warming and rising sea levels will wipe entire nations off the map by 2000.
By 2000.
1990, we have 5 to 10 years to save the rainforest. That's in 1990. 5 to 10 years to save the rainforest. So by 2000, the rainforests are going to cease to exist. 1999, the Himalayan glaciers will be gone in 10 years. Let's see, that would have been, this is 5 years ago, the Himalayan glaciers disappeared.
They did?
According to their predictions, yeah.
I didn't see that in the map.
I've still seen them. I guess we're seeing ghost glaciers. There's such a thing as ghost glaciers?
Could be.
2000,
in Washington.
They said snow will soon be a thing of the past. What's going on up north right now?
Let's see.
Somebody opened their door and there was snow piled all the way up.
But isn't this the earliest snow they've had in 10 years?
It's one of the biggest for sure. I don't know. Yeah, it's earlier than most. That's global. See, well, it's like if it weren't for global.
An interesting point that I heard today, that Alaska's temperature was higher than ours.
Well, I can believe that. You see, let me finish this and I'm going to make a few comments. But that's not to say we shouldn't watch out for this stuff.
Exactly.
But by the same token, they're using this as scare tactics. 2007, they said global warming will cause fewer hurricanes. Wait for it. 2008, the Arctic will be ice-free by 2013. The Arctic is increasing.
This is 2014. 50%, by the way.
Well, no, that's the Antarctic.
Oh,
no, excuse me. You're talking about that's right. The Arctic. The Arctic has been increasing lately.
50%.
It did decrease. The Arctic ice did decrease for a few years, but the Antarctic was increasing.
Yeah.
There's a reason we're going to get into.
Why were those ships stuck there last year?
Oh, you mean the ones that were studying global warming got stuck in the ice?
Yeah, 4 of them.
The guy upstairs has a sense of humor.
Hey.
But see, in 2007, they say global warming will cause fewer hurricanes. In 2012, they say global warming will cause more hurricanes.
We haven't had a hurricane
And since we haven't had a hurricane in a while
2007.
as well. Then 2014, the science is settled.
What does that mean?
Well, it means they want the imbeciles out there, the zombies out there, to think that all of the scientists in the world agree with this.
Not hardly.
Well, what kind of scientists, first of all? You notice they never tell you what kind of scientists they're talking about?
Yeah, like our local guy, huh?
They never tell you
Rick?
the scientists, the kind of science they're talking
No.
about. They just say, occasionally they'll use climate scientists. That's because they can't pronounce meteorologists.
But you know, it's funny how that works out in everything. Common
Yeah,
Core,
yeah.
health,
Right.
whatever.
Right. They never tell you the folks that are pushing these bizarre things like Common Core and global
I'm
warming.
still looking for those 26 guys that wrote that from Louisiana.
Yeah, again, that's a problem. But you see, what has happened with the climate change is, yeah, the climate's changing, it changes constantly. But a few years ago, there were some massive earthquakes on this planet, and it actually tilted the Earth's axis. And it tilted it in such a way that in certain parts of the world, the climate got warmer. In other parts of the world, the climate got cooler. And of course, if it weren't for global warming, we'd have icebergs down the Atchafalaya
Oh, yeah.
with what we've had lately. But it's been that way every year for the last several years.
Yeah.
I've
They
been telling
actually
people-
said there'll be a better crawfish season because of this next year.
Well, I don't remember the reason for that, but I've heard it.
Doesn't kill the vegetation.
It doesn't? Oh, it does. You're talking about it doesn't kill it.
I'm just being,
Goofball.
mm-hmm.
That's why we keep you around.
I mean, the stupid remark,
Well,
I can really apply to that.
there's more on him. I think I got some
Gruber?
things on that, on Gruber,
Gruber?
but he's not the important one right now. There's a lot more important stuff going on.
What we got there?
Gun control, folks, the control of your life and your existence. Let me tell you what they're doing in some of these other states.
Wow.
In New York, they are starting to pick up under their gun control rule that they just passed last year.
Due to a famous person,
Yeah, due to Bloomberg.
Blomberg.
They're picking up the firearms of the deceased. Under the state rule that they just passed, the survivors have 15 days to do something with the firearms, either change the registration or get rid of them, or the Gestapo comes to pick it up. And in Washington State, they just passed with this election. See, the election didn't go 100% the way that some people wanted it to go.
That's a
And
liberal.
Washington State, which is very left-wing, yeah, there's a reason it's over there on the left coast.
Yeah.
In Washington State, they just passed I-594, which apparently is not an interstate number,
No.
that gives the survivors 60 days to either have lawfully transferred a pistol or must have contacted the Department of Licensing to notify the department that they're now in possession of the pistol and they intend to retain it in compliance with all federal and state laws, unquote. Now, I sent this out to everybody beginning of the week with the heading, "Told You So, Registration Leads to Confiscation."
Yeah, I read it.
There's the proof right there,
Yep.
folks. Some of these anti-liberty people will say, "Oh, we don't want your guns. We only want common sense gun control. Nobody needs this or that or something else." Well, that's a crock. Yeah.
Common sense.
Common sense is not what they're preaching. Now,
Yeah, but we read the statistics last week between Chicago and Houston.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And there's other,
Proof is in the pudding.
right, and one thing that they're saying, the anti-gunners, in another article that I read today, the anti-gunners are saying that, oh no, I've got it here, I'm gonna save that. Save that, and I'll read it to y'all later. About all of these statistics. Statistics are used to basically gin up anything you want with them, depending on how you explain them. So we'll get to that later.
Don't we?
Yeah, we do. Explaining the 40% no check myth. This is out of the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms.
Go ahead, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
I'm calling, did y'all see the story on November 17th on KPC about carrying a gun is illegal in some Acadiana cities?
Yeah, I read something, it was on Facebook actually.
Open carry?
Open carry?
Right.
Okay.
I actually live in Abbeville, and there's a law in the books in Abbeville that says it's against the law for anyone to carry or possess on his or her person any pistol, handgun, rifle, shotgun, or any other firearm. It doesn't matter if it's concealed or not.
That goes against the state law.
Yeah, I've heard that. And see, the state law trumps that when it comes to the concealed carry permit holder. Now, the problem comes in, I don't know how it affects open carry. I don't think open carry, there's a specific statute in Louisiana on open carry. They just basically say that, well, if you're not told you can't do it, then you can't. And the police have told us this.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that that trumps Abbeville. I've heard this about Abbeville before, and we've got some folks that are going to be coming to the meeting tomorrow night that remind me to ask them from Abbeville. They will know some other details. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because people need to be aware that there's differences in different parts of the state. Somebody that wants to openly carry in Lafayette, you can do that, but you can't do that in other places. So be sure you understand before you do it. There's something else that had come up dealing with this. Somebody was squawking. They were not happy when they heard that the owner or the proprietor or the staff of a business can stop you from carrying openly in their store or in their business.
They have that right.
And they have that right, okay? Private property rights trump that. You may not like it. Hey, you can boycott them. You can let all of your friends know, don't go to that place. They don't allow me to carry openly in the store. Also, of course, it's slightly more dangerous than if you did openly carry. But they have the right to do that. It's a property right. And the property owner does still have a few rights around here. Officially recognized anyway. So now our position on that is that you should not open carry. There are several reasons for that. Under normal everyday life, concealed carry is the way to go. For one thing, bad guys don't know you've got it if it's hidden properly.
Correct.
You have a problem with maintenance of that firearm. If it's out on your hip and you're busy eating or you're busy shopping, etc., you may have a lapse in attention and lose it, whether intentionally or accidentally.
Then
you're legally liable for that firearm. Even if you're carrying it concealed, you're liable for that both criminally and civilly for anything that happens with that firearm. So keep that in mind, folks. If you don't have, and I've done this with somebody that was openly carrying in my presence to make a point. I took her snub-nosed .38 away from her, out of her holster that had a snap on it, and she was wondering, how'd you get that? I just came up behind you and took it. It's easy. So you've got to have some awareness, a great deal of awareness, actually.
But you really become a target
in
open carry.
And there's been cases where the individual openly carrying, a recent case, was standing on a street corner talking to a friend of his, and somebody came by that was packing illegally and stole his gun, pulled his gun out and stole the guy's gun that was on his hip. Another case, or cases, plural, we've heard of multiple cases around the country where people that were openly carrying were reported to the police by these anti-gun people. They told the police that this individual robbed the liquor store, or not liquor store, convenience store, a gas station and stuff, this kind of thing. And the police, their rationale is, we don't care. We're going to lie to the police about what we saw and try and get these people hurt or killed. They want the people that are openly carrying to be killed. They want to cause a stink. And that's these Bloomberg type people. These people are attached to that, what's the name of that group now? Mothers, it's some new, relatively new group that Bloomberg started. He's pumping all kind of money into it.
Yeah.
Hadn't been a problem down here, but the only problem we've heard about was from the police, a police officer himself, actually 3 of them. We're talking at the constitutional study class, and they had a case where somebody was openly carrying a rifle downtown Lafayette after dark, and they didn't arrest him. They just pointed out he needed to leave with it because it was exciting too many people. They did the right thing, and apparently he left. There was no problems. He shouldn't have been doing that, for one thing. A lot of these folks have gotten themselves in trouble by flaunting this. Don't do that, folks. Don't do that. You're making everybody nervous. You're making them look bad. You're making us look bad. Don't be anything but professional, and if you're going to openly carry,
there's a lot of responsibility.
There's a lot of responsibility goes with that. And if you act up, you don't have to point it at anybody. You just have to act in a fashion that a reasonable man would think you're threatening somebody, you're scaring them, then you're going to regret it. And you don't want to do that.
Right, right.
So.
Okay, thanks for calling.
Okay, thank you all.
All right,
yeah.
Thank you. Wait a second, I need to make sure we ask them tomorrow night, those guys from Abbeville. Okay. One of them will know exactly, well, both of them actually, but one of them in particular.
Yeah, I won't be there till later.
Go ahead and do that one.
Yeah, there's a very interesting article I found that says, woman responds to Muslim death threat. Says, wear body armor. I've got new ammo I want to try out. Many threats from the Islamic world that are being touted against Americans, including a recent threat by the Islamic State in a cowardly video in which they behead men who are tied up. It's refreshing to see the American spirit alive and well, even more so when it comes from a gun-toting woman. I'm just going to give her first name, Anne. Well, actually, it's out there. Anne Barnhart is such a woman, one with the fire of revolution flowing in her veins. Recently, in a response to a death threat from a cowardly Muslim, Barnhart gave an epic response in which she not only provided her address so that the Muslim wouldn't have to find her, but also told him to be sure and wear body armor because she had new ammunition she wanted to try on him. Dave Sage recounts the interaction to Ann Barnhart. Watch your back. I'm going to kill you when I find you. Don't think I won't. I know where you and your parents live, and all I'll need is one phone call to kill you all. Response, Ann's response. Watch your back. Hello, and whatever his name is. You don't need to find me. And she gives him her address. It's in Colorado. She gives him the exact address. But here's the part that I like. Luckily for you, there are daily direct flights from Heathrow, evidently the guy's from England, to Denver. Here's what you need to do. After arriving at at the Denver and passing through customs, you'll need to catch the shuttle to the rental car facility. Once in your rental car, and she goes through and gives him the whole directions right to her house. Okay? Just do me one favor. Please wear body armor. I have new ammunition that I want to try out, and frankly, close quarter body shots without armor would feel almost unsporting from my perspective. That and the fact that I'm probably carrying a good 50 IQ points on you makes it morally incumbent upon me to spot you a technical advantage.
She's going to give him a handicap.
However,
handicap him.
being that you are a miserable, trembling coward, I realize you probably are incapable of actually following up on any threats without losing control of your bowels and crapping your pants while I'm simultaneously sobbing yourself into hyperventilation. So how about this? Why don't you contact the main mosque in Denver and see if some of the local Muslims here in town would be willing to carry out your attack for you. After all, this is what your perfect man Muhammad did. You see, Muhammad, being a miserable coward and a con artist, good Lord, would send other men into battle to fight on his behalf. Muhammad would stay at the back in the pack and let the stupid, ignorant suckers like you, oh my God, that he had on his political cult do the actual fighting and dying. Muhammad would fornicate with the dead man's wives until, oh my God. You should now, Muhammad's example. Here's the contact info for the main mosque, and she gives the address to the mosque. I'm sure they would be delighted to hear from you. Frankly, I'm terribly disappointed that not a single Muslim here in the United States has made any attempt to rape and behead me. Oh, man. But maybe I haven't made myself clear enough. So let me do that right now. I will never, ever, ever submit to Islam. I will fight Islam with every fiber of my being as long as I live. If you are really serious about Islam dominating the United States and the world, you are going to have to come through me. You are going to have to kill me. Good luck with that. And understand, if you or some of your Muslim boyfriends actually manage to kill me, the final crusade will officially commence 5 minutes later, and then despite your genetic mental retardation, oh my God, the word defeat means either way I win, so come and get it. And I mean, I tell you
people
what,
are fed up with that kind of with what they're doing over there.
And the thing is that when I read this article, I said, this is what the President of the United States should be expounding to these people. And that's not happening.
Well, he actually, when he was in Australia, the Australian Prime Minister was advised by him not to dispatch 3 warships to intercept the small Russian flotilla that was headed for Australia. But the Prime Minister of Australia did it anyway.
I wonder why.
So, hey.
I have a comment to that, but we can't say that on air.
The stuff going on with the Ruskies, I'll go ahead and cover that now. We'd mentioned this last week. Somebody called in with some stuff that's since hit the fan for a little while. It had all died down again. The Russians have announced that they will be sending bomber patrols into the Gulf of Mexico, among other places. And that has been picked up by the Associated Press, and every one of the major media outlets had something on that. What's interesting is that all of the reports except one said that the Cold War times they didn't do that. They did not send bombers into the Gulf of Mexico during the Cold War.
That's not true, is it?
No, and I had mentioned that last week again too. But one of the articles, again, one of the mainstream articles, they left in a certain paragraph that everybody else took out, probably at the behest of the Pentagon. Yes, during the Cold War, long-range aircraft from the Soviet Union did penetrate into the Gulf of Mexico on reconnaissance missions. but they didn't say they were bombers. Well, guess what all the Russian long-range reconnaissance aircraft are? They're bombers, folks. All U.S. long-range reconnaissance aircraft are bombers, except for the U-2. The Russians don't have an equivalent U-2. Well, all they have to do is carry extra fuel tanks and refuel. At the time, they were refueling out of Cuba. It's going to be interesting to find out where these planes are going to be refueling. Probably Venezuela, maybe even Cuba. Maybe even Cuba, though, because the Chinese had taken over all the Soviet facilities in Cuba when the Soviets pulled out of Cuba. But the Russians are trying to get back in there and probably have been successful in making a permanent presence, or shortly going to have a permanent presence, because the Cubans would love to get the revenue from the Russian refueling missions. And so, hey, they're going to have fees that they'll have to pay for landing at their airfields, etc. But they'll love to have the Russians come for a visit. Now, the other thing is that we've heard rumblings, so if anybody hears anything about it, specifically when they get here, there's a report of a Russian flotilla. We don't know how big, don't have any details, but there's a report of one on the way to the Gulf of Mexico. So keep that in mind if you're offshore and you see some strange looking ships.
What is the reasoning as to why this is now happening?
Putin, it's part and parcel to what Putin is doing in Ukraine. The sanctions that have been applied against them are hurting. The problem is they're not hurting enough. Plus, there are conflicting reports about who's at fault there, Ukraine or Russia. You've got a fascist government in Ukraine and a pseudo-imperialist communist government in Russia, so who's at fault? The bottom line is that Putin is not going to put up with a lot of claptrap from people he does not respect. And right now, he does not respect the guy in our White House.
Not at all.
And the people working for him. So this is part of this. He's pushing to see how far he can push. There are rumblings of more than that going on. For example, the U.S. military last week, I don't know if they've continued into this week or not, but all over the country, the training bases have been training in advanced biological and chemical defensive measures, even to the point of doing things that they had not done before in their training. And this is all over the country, all doing the same thing, which normally they don't all do the same thing. Everybody does some little thing separate. Now, in all likelihood, all of these units that are doing this training are interconnected on the web and are being controlled out of one place. They do these things in a scenario-based training setup where it's some fictional event that they're working out. And in all likelihood, since they're all doing that, then it's a nationwide chemical/biological attack that they're training for.
Wow, I don't know.
We'll see.
There's so much.
I mentioned the book, The Mystery of the Shemitah here. I'm going to bring, I forgot to bring its forerunner, the Harbinger. You need to get the book, The Harbinger, first, and then read this, The Mystery of the Shemitah. I'm almost finished with it. Some things happened today where I didn't get a chance to finish. But it's tedious. Parts of it are tedious, but it revolves around 7-year cycles of Jehovah's plan for us down here. These 7-year cycles, the 7th year is supposed to be a year of plenty, a year of rest. It's the equivalent of the Sabbath. And there's not supposed to be anything planted. The fields are laid fallow. If there's anything left in the fields, then it's supposed to be used by the poor. The last day of the Shemitah, which is in September, and it varies, of course, because it's lunar based. The last day of the Shemitah in September, toward the end of September, normally, all debts are forgiven across the board. But if God's people do not abide by this, then they face serious repercussions in that same period of time, with it getting worse as things get along in that year. Well, we're in the year of the Shemitah, and it runs out in September of next year. It started September of this year, and it continues until September of next year. And if we do not return to Jehovah, and he details in here stuff like that, and what has happened previously, and it's amazing how the timing has been for all of these events. The cycle of the superpower. America's rise to world power began in the year of the Shemitah 1917 with its entrance into the First World War. Moving forward 28 years, we come to the fourth Shemitah in the year 1945. The fourth Shemitah in that 28-year period. In 45, America's rise to world superpower is completed. All these things are 7-year cycles. You know when World War II started? The beginning of a Shemitah. Ended at the end of one. 7 years.
Wow.
To the month. Okay? The cycle of Bretton Woods. At its pinnacle of power, America becomes the center of a new world financial and economic order, the Bretton Woods system at the time of the Shemitah, 1945. Moving forward 28 years, we come to the fourth Shemitah in the year 1973, the year the Bretton Woods system undergoes its final collapse. It begins and ends with the Shemitah. The cycle of war. April 15th. Actually, he got the wrong date here, but it's in August that the Japanese surrendered, August of 45. Second World War is over. Having won its greatest military victory in history, America stands at the pinnacle of military power. Moving forward 28 years, we come to the fourth Shemitah of that 28-year period in the year 1973, the year America loses its first war in modern history, Vietnam War.
We didn't lose the war, please.
Well, no, we did. We gave it away. The war's over 28 years after its greatest victory to the month.
I can tell you, Vietnam veterans don't like to hear we lost.
Well, we did. We gave it away.
The government lost.
Well, again, though, that's all part of this. It's all part of this. The government is at fault. The government is doing this to us.
Yeah.
There's new, it was in the paper this week about how students in a high school, is it, in Morgan City?
Yeah, one student.
One student in a high school in Morgan City does not like that they're praying in that school. So
yeah, it was Veterans Day.
It was Veterans Day. It was a Veterans Day celebration that they did. And so that's part of this. You know when abortion was legalized? Beginning of a Shemitah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah. All of that's in here. And once I finish it, the towers. He brings in the towers as a biblical reference to two things: the rise and the decline of empires. And all of the major skyscrapers built in this country, which at the time they were built, were at or approaching the tallest in the world each time, including, of course, the Empire State Building and some that came before, etc. The Shemitah is part of the building schedule. Not officially now. It just happened that way. Oh no, it didn't just happen. This is the kind of stuff people have to understand about Jehovah. He's not sitting on his laurels just watching us. Okay? And if we don't turn around and do his bidding between now and September of next year, and it gets worse the closer you get to the end of the Shemitah, guess what? Remember what we told you? To he whom much is given, much is expected. And this country has been given everything. This country has been given more than any other country on earth ever, throughout history. I mean, our poor people are living better than the kings of England, of Europe were in the Middle Ages. Those people, they didn't take a bath. They thought it was bad for their health. Okay? They froze in the dark in the wintertime in those drafty old stone castles. They didn't have air conditioning. You know what their transportation was? A smelly old dray horse, if they happened to have one that they could mount because of their overweight condition. I mean, folks, this country has had it, some would say, too good. Well, the days of good are ending. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Unless we turn back to Him.
That's what's got to happen.
If we don't turn back to Him, where is it? Is it on here? 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Acts 5:29. We must obey God rather than men.
Exactly. I see more in recent, as time goes by, the American people are a very resilient people. Not enough.
Up to a point.
Yeah, not enough. But I do see some changes taking place, but the word is not enough in that. But and then back to some local stuff. This, you know.
Well, wait. This one here is right in line with what we were just talking about.
Yeah. Well, this is from an article called "The Last Resistance," which really fits into what you said. Chicago teaching safe sodomy in 6th grade sex ed. And I mean, I'm not going to go through and read all this. The point is bringing this up. This stuff all ties into Common Core.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a video, and I don't know if we want to show that now, or do you want to?
Oh yeah, we can show that now. And
I'm going to do a little introduction before we bring that up.
Tom, can you go ahead and get that sucker ready?
This lady, Sarah Wood, is she understands how great America is compared to where her parents came from. She's Cuban, and we got to get us out of there. How does he do that? But anyway, Sarah is a lawyer by trade, but she homeschools 4 children, and somehow he forgot how to get us out of there. But she was giving. She was challenging the school board in St. Tammany Parish on Eureka, on common math, Common Core math, used to be called Engage in New York. I mean, we had some people at our meeting last Thursday. A mom and her daughter were there in 3rd grade, and talking about the challenges that they were having. And I've heard this all over the state. You're going to be able to get it, or you can't.
Got it?
He's got the video, but he can't get us out of the way, I guess.
That thing, pain in the neck.
See if Jacob's out there.
You need some help, Tom?
He's looking.
Oh.
But I mean, this kind of stuff in Chicago, of all places, you know.
Well, that kind of stuff's expected in Chicago, of all places.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect that down here, but then again, it's coming here, folks.
It's here. Some of this stuff is here.
Yeah.
You just don't hear about it.
Yeah.
And You know, we had, I mean, tying in with this is I caught an article out of the Independent. Cooper to let courts decide merits of his termination. Wow. He was terminated.
Sarah would. I think I support option 3 only because there is no real choice. I mean, that's the only one that provides some sort of an end run. I think it fails to regard the damage being sustained by these kids right now. I mean, I really do. I mean, you don't get that back. You don't get the year back. You don't get the 2 years back. You know, this is going to shape their lives forever. You know, on top of the fact that there are components to this that have been tried elsewhere. They don't work. These, I mean, you can research.
Yeah.
And the infrastructure and all that stuff. And all that happened was is divisive separation of half the board likes the guy and the other half don't like the guy, and
Yeah.
so now we got kind of like the Senate and the House, you know,
Well, like it is now.
and they're not accomplishing the goals.
Right.
And then you got Common Core mixed in there. And I mean, somebody asked me, some of the people, what is, some people have said to me, there's too much. Are you ready?
We have the video for Common Core.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go.
Go ahead.
Here comes the video. This is Sarah. This is pretty good. Listen to what she has to say.
Sarah would. I think I support option 3 only because there is no real choice. I mean, that's the only one that provides some sort of an end run. I think it fails to regard the damage being sustained by these kids right now. I mean, I really do. I mean, you don't get that back. You don't get the year back. You don't get the 2 years back. You know, this is going to shape their lives forever. You know, on top of the fact that there are components to this that have been tried elsewhere. They don't work. These, I mean, you can research all of this. This discovery type learning this is not the first time they've tried it. You know, I want to know why Eureka is tier 1. It's the most closely aligned. If our board's official position is that it opposes Common Core in the PARC test, why can't we consider tier 2 and tier 3? Why did our administration only consider tier 1? Why would we even choose something so closely aligned is a question. But, you know, you have to look to the experts. And, you know, to say that for some reason New York, all the teachers in New York State got it wrong when they used the Eureka curriculum, to me is crazy. That is the only proof you have. You know, so when parents come back and sue this board because they've damaged their children, you know, you think, I mean, this isn't a joke. You all are complicit in doing something where the only proof that exists is that it's a failure. I don't care what the state says. You all have an individual obligation. And I see it as a failure of your obligation to do something where the proof sort of leans the other way, in a sense, the actual and real proof of where the outcomes are. I want to tell you really quick, you know, some of the experts that have looked at this math stuff, Zev Werman, James Milgram, Jonathan Goodman, I can't think of the other guys, you know, they talk about the variety of the Mr. Nichols said something. He said that, you know, there's gaps in the Common Core. And so really what I understood that to mean is whatever is derived from that's going to have problems. Eureka is aligned to that. It's going to have real problems. Some of the things that these experts have said is that the variety of the pseudo algorithm in place of traditional algorithms at this young and inappropriate age will leave students confused and frustrated on a larger scale than anything experienced by the teachings of traditional algorithms. It also, they're on the record saying that the K through the progression of this is going to leave these children 2 years behind other high-performing countries and high-performing states like Massachusetts and California, what they used before the Common Core. I don't know why you all are, why we even did this in the first place, and why we're going to continue this for another year.
And where that goes, who knows? I had some naysayers that emailed me and said nothing good came out of that meeting. What? They made a resolution.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. I will tell you this, and we're pushing it. You got to get involved. Because if we don't get this taken care of in this legislative session coming up, it's a done deal. And then our children lose. And I'm going to tell you what, they lose big time. I have people tell me, well, all you do at half of these meetings is talk about Common Core. Well, I'm going to tell you something. How important is it to get rid of Common Core?
Extremely important.
Yeah, I've been to 6 or 8 town halls, not just in Lafayette, across the state. You know what? I hear the same story. I don't speak at these. I go there and make my presence felt, but I don't speak. I sit and I listen and I learn. And I hear what the parents are saying. I hear children as far down as 2nd grade testifying. And it brings tears to your eyes. Now the thing that's rising up is some areas, teachers are finally speaking up. What I think is the most horrible thing out of this whole deal is teachers are realizing that this is an unproven, uncalculated thing that we instituted in here without the legislation even being involved. And if people tell you that somebody in this state wrote the standards, that's a bunch of bull crap. I can say that, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sort of. But, and we're still looking for the 26 people that supposedly wrote the standards.
In Louisiana.
In Louisiana. We haven't gotten that list. We asked for it back in April.
And who officially asked for it? Wasn't it legislators?
Legislators asked for it.
Yeah. So
through some of our help. But the thing is, how important is it? Common Core and the taking over of your children or our children is really what they're going to do. Anybody that supports charter schools really doesn't see the big picture. Are all charter schools bad? Probably 98% of them. There are some good ones. Rare, but the thing is they're for-profit corporations. And if we don't stop this, we will lose total control of our schools and our children. And people say to me that I'm somewhat far out there on this. Just look around you what's going on right here in Lafayette. We have 4 charter schools, and none of them are subject to our school board. None of them. Because our school board voted down charter schools. Our superintendent, who is filing a lawsuit to get his job back, is the one that sold Bessie on the fact that we need those charter schools. And then he turned around and cried about the budget And something yet y'all don't know, 10 to 13 million dollars of that deficit in the budget was because we had to give money to the charter schools for the students that they took out of the public schools. Interesting. You know, but you don't see this stuff. You don't hear this stuff. And it's up to people like us and parents and teachers to stand up and get involved. Now, Calcasieu Parish, St. Tammany, New Orleans in some areas, the teachers are fighting. I want you to Google, find out who caused the issues in the RSD schools, recovery school districts. And also kind of, you know, do things like in Mississippi. And then we'll find out why this guy, and I can't find his picture now, but why he needs to stay gone. And we need to get somebody in here that's interested in the children in Lafayette Parish. We have all the educators we need in here to write our own curriculum, to write our own standards, and get our kids headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
And people like Sarah Wood and many others, and we've had them over here to talk. They are awesome. They're parents. They are not like me. I don't have any children in school. But my education came going to those town halls. And by the way, those town halls were put on by legislators, which we said, y'all got to do this. If you're against Common Core, you got to do it. It was the legislators that set up the meetings, that put out on official documentation that they were having a meeting and bringing in people like Sarah Wood, Anna Arthurs, Catherine Goplet, all these people who travel around the state. And guess what? They don't get paid to do this. Just like Tom and I don't get paid to do this. But they're the people that are paid to do it, like your chamber and your school board people.
And your controlled media.
And the controlled media, absolutely. You know, I could bring in all kinds of speakers in here, and I still bet that 3 in 10 won't come visit me.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, because they only hear one side of the story. I mean, the Cooper story is a bad deal.
That's because that's where the money is. We don't have the money to buy Channel 10. We don't have the money to buy Channel 3 or the Advertiser, or even to an extent, the Advocate.
Oh,
When's the last time you saw us put out a full-page ad in one of the newspapers?
can't afford it. It's 3
You know
or
what it
4
costs?
grand.
It's big bucks.
3 or 4 grand for 2 days, Wednesday and Sunday. I checked it out. It's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
Yeah.
And we got no money like that, but I can tell you, big money is being poured in. And what you should question yourself is why did somebody like Holly Boffey get an educational donation from Bloomberg in New York? What's he got to do with Lafayette Parish?
Good question, good question.
Why was, and I'm going to put this out, why was Charter Schools USA here from Florida at a fundraiser for the chamber, who in turn had that money distributed into their PAC now, which supposedly makes it legal, and then that money was distributed to seven people that they endorsed for the school board. Unfortunately, to say only 3 out of the 7 got elected.
That's a good number.
Less than 50%.
So,
But this is, I mean, we go on and over and over and over, but people ask me why we talk about Common Core. It's about the kids, people. Totally.
it's too important not to talk about this.
I mean, there's other stuff going on, and we do talk
Yeah.
about that stuff.
But again, the only other issue that is more important is killing babies in the womb.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not a problem here from the standpoint of
We're always
widespread.
voted. This state is the #1 pro-life state in the
Yeah,
United States.
so we're
Every
fortunate
year.
there, and it's because of people keeping up on that. Their churches have been keeping up on the issue, etc. But you folks in the Roman Catholic Church, you need to start looking at what your Pope's doing.
We talked about
Yeah, there's no telling there what's going on. So,
it. We got about a minute, I guess.
what, we got a minute left? We go till what, 56?
5-2. Is it
4 till?
5-2? Yeah, our director didn't
Yeah.
make it in here tonight.
We'll come back to some things. I forgot to mention something dealing
Tom,
with the
how much
Russians.
time we got left?
What we got? He didn't give me a clock.
1 minute.
1 minute,
One
okay.
minute?
When we come back, I got some more information about the Ruskies and the U.S. Navy that I forgot about. Google USS Donald Cook and see what you get while you're waiting for the 4 minutes to come up till the next hour. And Ferguson, we're going to talk about Ferguson when we come back.
Yeah, and the pipeline.
The pipeline, yeah.
Yeah, we ought to talk
Yeah.
about the green gas elevation.
Yep.
30 seconds.
That's amazing to me.
What's that, the pipeline stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. We got to show them that picture.
Oh, yeah, we'll show them the pipeline map.
We'll show them I googled pipelines in the USA. It's very interesting. Got a pretty good picture of a map that will show you second hour.
10 seconds.
All right,